The guest is Mr. RPatton, and the topic is the Freedom Rides. And of course, Mr. Patton is a participant in the Freedom Rides of May of 1961. And Mr. Patton, let's give you an opportunity during this last segment to simply inform our audience of some of the impressions and some of the things that happened to you and others during this very, very critical period in the civil rights movement.
Okay. One of the things, I think, things that happened to the Nashville group, our first group that left, there were 10 people on that bus. One of the things that we have to realize is that there was danger there. They knew that. And they also knew that this was something that had to be done. And when on the Saturday morning, they departed from Birmingham to Montgomery. Now, as I stated earlier, the FBI has to know, so they had everybody made the phone calls to let the FBI know. Of course, they already knew with these people in jail. When the bus pulled into Montgomery, the students on the bus noticed that there were no people around the bus terminal, which was strange. There were photographers on the bus with the students. The photographers got off first. And when they got off, this is where this mob came from nowhere. They attacked the photographers and camera people first, broke up their equipment. Apparently, they didn't want the nation to see what was going on. And when the people on the bus saw this, this is when they started scattering, because they knew that this was going to be a bad day. There are some pictures that you've probably seen in Life magazine of John Lewis and Jim Swerve. I think John has a patch on his head and Jim has lost a tooth or what have you. There were some other injuries in that. A young man who was a student at American Baptist, he was hospitalized. Someone had a long rod, steel rod, and he was on the ground. They was trying to push it through his ear. He's no longer with us. After that, he was never quite right.
Again.
There were a couple of students who got away in a taxi cab, so everybody just scattered. They were running. That night, at least that Sunday night, the next night, Sunday, they had a rally in Montgomery at the First Baptist Church, and Dr. King was the speaker. Now, on that Saturday, that's when I left to go to Montgomery. My portion of the Freedom Ride started in Montgomery, but before that, after I was working the office, and I said, there's no way that I'm going on a Freedom Ride. I'll stay here and do what I can from this end. But you never know what the man upstairs is going to do to you and what he wants to do through you. I went home. We got a call that we needed more Freedom Riders. I went home and put my suit and tie on, came back to the office. We rented a car, called the FBI to let them know that there was a group in a car driving to Montgomery. And I didn't tell my mother. And so that Saturday and Sunday at the rally, matter of fact, as we were having the rally, outside they were burning up people's cars. And the next morning, Monday morning, we were planning who would be on what bus. They had the Greyhound and the Trailway bus, so they were dividing the groups up. And there were 25 in the group at this time. I was on the second bus with Dr. Lafayette. The first bus left, and what we didn't know was that we had the National Guard, Alabama National Guard, on the bus, in cars, and in the air. Took us all the way to the Mississippi state line, and then the Mississippi National Guards took over and took us on into Birmingham, I'm sorry, into Jackson. When we arrived at the Jackson bus terminal, we were arrested for a breach of peace. and disorderly conduct. They dropped the disorderly conduct and charged us with breach of peace. And of course, we all decided that we would stay in jail. And that was a $200 fine or 67 days in jail. The next thing, we were moved to the city jail. Now, in the city jail, apparently they hadn't used the part where they sent us. And there was segregation in the jails. All the blacks were in one portion of the jail. We couldn't see any whites. The white males were in a separate place. The white females were in a separate place, and so were the black females. When we went into the jail cells, which had a day room, we had to actually clean it first because of the mold. Everything was green. And with the first group, whenever they would move us, they would move the first group. They filled up the city jail. They moved us to the county farm, which we stayed for maybe 2 days, brought us back to the city jail. And what was happening was they were making preparation to take us to Parchman, the state penitentiary, to minimum security. So after they did all the paperwork, they took us to Parchman. And that was quite a group that went to Parchman. One of the things I remember that was very shocking to me, that was there were quite a few hunger strikes that went on.
In the prison?
In the prison. Well, actually in the city jail. And some of the riders were so weak they couldn't walk. And when we were transferred to the state penitentiary and they were asked to get up and walk, well, the guards used cattle prods. And if you know anything about cattle prods, it's electric shock. They used that to get these people to move. And so while we were in the state penitentiary, we always sing. We'd love to sing, and they would try and stop us from singing. I remember the 4th of July. We were singing, and they said we would take your toothbrush away from you if you don't stop singing. Well, one gentleman said, you can take my toothbrush, but you can't take my soul. We continued to sing. And the way to retaliate, they turned off the heat, turned off the air conditioning, and turned off the water in the cell. There were 2 of us per cell, a very small cell, not like the ones you see in the movie. I guess they have the larger cells in the movie so they can get the equipment in. But these cells were very small, 2 to a cell, and we could shower and shave. You had to shave. If you didn't have anything here at all, you still had to shave twice a week. And what we had to wear was like boxer shorts, and that was it. And that was made, that was that rough, raw cotton that they made these shorts out of.
Well, now, being in Mississippi, we've got about 2 minutes, so let me get this in. Being in one of the, quote, one of the more racist states in terms of segregation and et cetera, did you not fear almost continually for your life?
The only time I had any fear, when I was released, I spent 61 days of the 67. I was the only one that was let out on that particular day. A lawyer came to pick me up, to take me back to Jackson. And that's the only time I had some fear, because I was out there by myself. But when you're with a group, you don't fear for yourself. You fear more for the person in front of you or behind you. You think more of the other people than you do yourself. And so really there's no fear there. But after I got back, I went to, worked here on the HG Hills, trying to desegregate HG Hills, stayed here for a while, and then I went to New York to CORE, and was a speaker for CORE for a year to raise money for the Freedom Ride. It was still going on, and that's what I did. And then I came back to Nashville, and I was one of the 13 that was expelled from Tennessee State University. We filed to get back in school, and they admitted us back, but I went back for 2 or 3 quarters, and things just didn't seem right to me, and so I don't mind saying that I was one of those that didn't finish. Yes.
But the university, as well as the state and the nation, owes a great debt of gratitude to you and others who had the kind of courage, Mr. Patton, to really walk into the mouth of the lion. You see, because I think people who understood, and I think all of the riots and the burning of the bus and the burning of the cars and et cetera, is an indication of the kind of intensity that was associated with this, and especially when you infer that the FBI might be in cooperation with this, and,
Yes.
and to at the same time get on a bus and drive down into the mouth of the lion. It really deserves greater recognition. And let me thank you for coming by. And,
You know,
and
I
giving
have
us
a little
that,
something for you. It's called Free at Last.
Okay, and let me thank our audience, and let me encourage them to tune in again next week for another informative edition of Comments. Thank you, and good morning.